Welcome to the late night chat. Effort and grace is what we're delving into. I hope you all kind of kept your silence and didn't break it. Did anybody make it through the day without breaking their silence? Oh, see, you can see where we're at. Well, who did it more than one time? Oh, that's pretty good. That's very
You
impressive.
mean who broke it more than one time?
Yeah, who broke their silence more
Oh, I
than?
broke it 3 times.
Yeah.
I
And,
was really
and,
off the charts.
and I had permission.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you had to talk with your lawyer, right? Okay. Okay, well, JCMA, if you wouldn't mind posting that email. And I should say that some people they if you want a copy of it, at the bottom of the of the box of the recording box, it says read more, and then the email is in there in case you want to be able to read it and not just get it once here. Okay. Martha, who have you got?
Do we have Emmy read first, Jeff?
Yeah, if Emmy, we can get her
I
out
don't think Anthony's on yet. So Emmy, you want to read?
Okay. Dear folks of Baba, in this next chapter, Darwin introduces the lifelong work that we face of dissolving the many veils that distort our vision within and prevent us from seeing Baba, who is always present right before us. Prophet Mohammed once said, "Between you and me, there are 49 veils. Between me and you, there are no veils." This is our challenge, to work with Baba at dissolving these veils through ceaseless effort until he is seen face to face. The rare and fleeting glimpses we may experience of Baba have to one day become abiding and permanent. To do this, we have to give up many desires and delusions along the way. Thankfully, in compensation, we enjoy an increasing measure of inner freedom in spite of the inevitable pain. There is a Sufi line that says, "As long as I feel you here inside of me, I cannot say I am suffering." It may take decades for the truth of these words to dawn in us. Knowing he is here with us is such an unspeakable privilege, which fortifies our endurance to continue the seemingly insurmountable challenges of this inner divine journey. Darwin defines these veils as sanskaric thought patterns that stand between us and the ever-present vision of the divine within. On an overcast day, we say the sun isn't out, but when the clouds lift, we see it was there all along. The fastest way to eliminate these veils is to give Baba all of our emotional complexes and misconceptions that fuel the veil-making machine. Psychological and spiritual work on ourselves is helpful, but tuning into Baba's presence and giving him our shortcoming and weaknesses, and even our attachment to good, is the fastest way to dissolve our veils. Darwin used to say, the deeper the feeling, the deeper the healing. The deeper the feeling, the deeper the healing. Fortunately, we have a natural and intrinsic longing for a freer life full of substance and love that drives us on, which is really Baba's very personal, active, and magnetic influence from behind the veils. Kitty Davy used to quote Rumi as saying, "I never knew that God too desires us." She found that Baba was more eager to unite with them, the early Western disciples, than they were with him. Over time, often taking decades, These internal veils gradually began to dissolve through our efforts and Baba's grace. We begin to see within and develop intuition, insight, inspiration, and eventually illumination in the course of our journey. The process is like lifting the hood of a car and observing firsthand the mechanics of the machine and making critical repairs as we go along. In this, we might experience the feeling that Baba is moving closer to us, but it is really the other way around, that we are drawing closer to him. He is already infinitely close to us. Complexes like unworthiness, our innumerable likes and dislikes, and worldly addictions have to be let go of in order to move more deeply into Baba's intimate being. People are naturally lulled into thinking that they have finally succeeded in life when, in Darwin's words, they have harmonized with their sanskaras, whereas the real challenge before us is to harmonize with our own inner divinity, which is our beloved Baba. Dear one, when did you ever find the courage to seek such a beloved when you know he has annihilated so many like you before? Rumi. In his love, Jeff.
Okay. Um, so, I guess, oh, while we're speaking of veils here, I'm just reminded, I tried to find it in Darwin's book, but he didn't share this, but he shared this privately with me a number of times. In 1954, he was there in India in the museum that's now the museum room with Baba, and there were something like 18 Western men who had been invited there to be with him in 1954. And Baba was dictating, messages on the alphabet board. And at one point, Bill LePage saw this look on Baba's face that he said, was so poignant. And he wished Baba would just hold that pose forever. And the look in it was a poignant look. He described it as Baba's eyes saying, I am only looking for a home in your heart. And so then Baba went on with the discourse. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, Baba said, okay, we're going to stop for 5 minutes and you can look at me and just relax and look at me. So so immediately Baba had that same identical look that Bill had hoped to see, you know. And so that was, Baba had, of course, divined his thought. But also, this is how Darwin describes this. So Darwin has 5 minutes, and he's looking at Baba, and Baba is radiant. And then he said Baba kind of dissolved some of the veils between them. Baba became something like full of splendor, and more veils dropped away, and Baba was like magnificent and everything. And eventually, he was found himself looking at the ocean of divine love right there before him. He used to say, I actually is able to, you can actually see divine love. And so he's in this overwhelming state watching, and then eventually Baba reassembles himself, and Baba's there in human form. So in 5 minutes, he went from God in human form to the formless aspect of God and back into God in human form. I mean, that's an incredible meditation. So that's Baba from his side can dissolve these veils. And what a different view you get of Baba and experience. Yeah. Okay. So who's going to start out reading? Oh, wait, we got Ronnie Greenstein there.
Did you forget to put your hand down? You're muted, Ron.
I can't get that right. Not tonight.
Can I
Anyhow,
ask,
thank you for your help.
what page are we on in the book?
21,
21. Thank you.
misconceptions.
I noticed that Kitty in the letter that you wrote, Jeff,
Yeah.
said something about that she felt like Baba was looking for us, that he wanted to find us. And it just so happened that earlier this week, I guess when I was doing the prayers, sometimes things come to mind. And what came to mind was the video in which Erich mentions that we need not seek God, but rather we should become sought by God.
Yeah, become
I
the
always-
sought.
What?
Yeah, become the sought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I found that I really like that, and it was unusual. So I was wondering what was required and whether or not Erich had mentioned how we would go about becoming sought by God. And I was thinking that really, if we go in for his love, grace, and guidance, the more we go in for it, the more he's looking for people that are up for it. And that if we're up for it, he'll come and offer more and more. So he'll be looking for us. But so anyhow, I posted something to the effect of that on Facebook. I didn't do a very good job writing it, but anyhow, that was the idea. But later that day, maybe about, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours later, I get in my car, was running an errand. I get in the car, I turned on the radio and heard a song that I hadn't heard in several decades, but it was a song that I really liked. And it just so happened to have the theme of this idea about being sought by God. It doesn't use the word God, but I'd like to try to sing it. I sang it the other day at a Zoom meeting, and I used the guitar, but I don't really have it down. So I'm going to see if I can get the melody correct, but these words are quite good. I cried a tear, you wiped it dry. I was confused, you cleared my mind. I sold my soul, you bought it back for me and held me up and gave me dignity. Yipes. Somehow you needed me. You gave me strength to stand alone again, to face the world out on my own again. You put me high upon a pedestal. I don't think I'm going to get this line. So high that I could almost see eternity. You needed me. You needed me. And I can't believe it's you. I can't believe it's true. I needed you, and you were there. And I'll never leave. Why should I leave? I'd be a fool. 'Cause I finally found someone who really cares. You held my hand when it was cold. When I was lost, you took me home. You gave me hope when I was at the end and turned my lies back into truth again. You even called me friend. You gave me strength to stand alone again, to face the world out on my own again. You put me high upon a pedestal so high that I could almost see eternity. You needed me. You needed me. You needed me. You needed me. That wasn't too bad.
Hey,
Oh, gee,
beautiful.
Baba, fabulous. Oh,
Great
that's so
words.
touching.
Isn't that a wonderful message?
Yeah, wow. I remember that song.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, going back to what you were saying, although we need to kind of get moving on, but um, that idea, those are Baba's words. Don't think of yourself so much as the seeker as the sought. Become the seeker, become not so much the seeker as the sought. And my impression of that was, now this is kind of a metaphor, um, but if you imagine that a mother is at the at the sink doing the dishes, and out in front she has two kids that are playing in the sandbox. One is like, you know, taking up the shovel and sprinkling stuff on their hair and throwing the sand around a little bit. The other kid is like really absorbed in building something. He's making like underground tunnels and a little castle and everything. Which one is the seeker and which one is the sought? Which one does the mother most drawn to? What would you say?
Mm.
I'm going to ask Goer.
I'm sorry, Jeff, what was the first one doing? I missed that.
He's taking sand and a bucket and pouring it over his head and kind of basically kind of entertaining his mother. And the other kid is absorbed in making like a elaborate little castle and with tunnels and everything.
Mhm.
Which one is the mother most drawn to?
Hmm. The
What
one
draws
making,
your attention most, huh?
the one making the castles.
Yeah,
No?
that's what I think. The one is absorbed.
Mhm.
So that becomes the sought.
Yeah.
That's the one you're intrigued in, not the one that's kind of showing off a little
Right.
bit, whatever.
Entertain you, right.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go on to the reading here. And
Bob, you want to read
wait, no, it's on what page is it?
21
Page 21.
misconceptions?
Yeah, it's
I
back a little
believe.
bit.
I believe.
Yeah.
No, just misconceptions by itself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Misprojection. Okay, go ahead then. Oh,
Go,
misconception.
go,
Okay.
go back. Oh, go back, Jayseema. Yeah, keep going down. It should be the next one, misconcept. Oh, limitations. Oh, it's between limitations and misprojections. What happened? I see it.
There it is. It's there.
Oh,
It's there.
oh, okay. Oh, thank you. There it
Yes,
is.
I see it.
Okay. Okay.
So, Bob, would you like to read
Oh.
or?
Sure, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
And try to think of some examples because, Darwin couldn't put all the different examples in here, but assuming that we know them kind of intuitively, but it's helpful to have examples from your own life. Go ahead.
Misconceptions. Perhaps most of our lives as spiritual seekers is spent consciously or unconsciously trying to correct the latent misconceptions that have been plaguing us from the subconscious level of our minds. When we probe each of our own particular misconceptions to its foundation, we discover that we have been coping with wrong answers for most of our lives. We have accepted as facts things that are simply not true. We have been brought up with the fundamental misconceptions that the creation is real and that we are individual, limited creatures. And so, right from the beginning, we take it all for granted. There are many misconceptions that we take to be a part of our ordinary lives, not realizing that they are misconceptions and that they are distorting our inner awareness. As seekers of truth, We have to see through the misconceptions and what they cause and replace all that with what is the nearest we can come to the truth itself. We cannot add truth to the misconceptions. Misconceptions can include the tendency to imagine things and to follow trains of thought. Sometimes, before we even get out of bed, a certain train of thought has already left the station, and we are not even aware that this has happened. When we first wake up in the morning, the mind gets activated, and we present it with a train of thought, which leads us into other trains of thought, and they produce what becomes the content of our day. So we get involved in following these trains of thought instead of taking control and initiating a wisely chosen train of thought. Misconceptions also can involve low self-esteem based on an incorrect assessment of who and what we really are. And a quote, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he," unquote, is a very profound and philosophically revealing statement. Our everyday thinking, our beliefs, and the limitations that we accept are all part of the bondage that we experience. We start with a conclusion from our subconscious and our observations, then look for signs confirming our conclusion, which in turn solidify that conclusion.
Anyone have something to say to that? Here's a metaphor that I've always found helpful from Darwin. Waking up in the morning is like finding yourself at a railway station. Don't take the first train going out. You might wind up in Newark, New Jersey, of all places. No, but make sure what you have the intention that you want to start the day. And I've always felt what I had to deal with is when you first wake up, people say, "Well, how am I doing?" And they check their sanskaras rather than checking their connection to Baba. So if you wake up and you're kind of slightly depressed, then that's who you are, and that fuels the day, that colors the whole day. And that's kind of what Darwin was very good about revealing. You want to make sure on the railway platform that you're center yourself in Baba in a deep way, and I know we all do that, so that you start the day, from a spiritual basis rather than just going with our sanskaras, so to speak. But anyone have to say anything to that? Some of the limitations. What is that? There is that last sentence there. I don't know if someone has it, but the idea is that we accept as conclusions from our subconscious.
We start with a conclusion from our subconscious, that's correct, and our
Yeah.
observations. Then look for signs confirming our conclusions, which in turn solidify that conclusion.
Yeah. For example, your subconscious may say everybody is separate. And then you go out into the day and everybody's kind of acting separate. So it confirms that, everybody is separate, even though that's just something we bought into. Now it's actually confirming, in my life that everybody is separate.
So if we have the thought like, oh God, this world right now is just horrible, scary, terrible, then we go out and then we find things justified, as opposed to if we think, oh, this day is full of Baba's love, I'm going to go out and be happy.
Yeah. And you see it through a different lens altogether,
Mm.
But when love is the lens you see through, then you see a different world. You pick out different details, you might say, different events. But anybody have anything? Oh, good.
There's Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hi, guys. Jay Baba.
Yeah.
Hey, Baba.
Yeah, so Jeff, what you were saying about the setting the mood from the day. Yeah, I've been trying to do something like that, but it was based on what I remember Erich uh, explaining or saying, and I don't know how close I have it, but I always try to remember now when I first get up. I remember that I'm entrusting to Baba every thought, word, and deed of this day, and then I also follow that with I said entrusting it with every thought, word, and deed, good or bad, whatever it is, I entrust it to Baba, and then I remind myself that Baba alone exists. Baba's the only doer, and that kind of solidifies that a little bit. And then I also ask Baba to help me to love him, to serve him, to please him, to obey him. And that's how I try to start.
Yeah.
And sometimes during the day when I kind of get my mind off into tangents, I try to remind myself about that again. Which seems to help to bring me back into a safer place.
Yeah, and if you take that train, you might wind up in Aspen, Colorado or something, some nice. Yeah, beautiful. Well, let's go on to the next, Seema.
Jennifer, do you feel like reading?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So, all right. So we're in misprojection. All right. Maintaining misconceptions applies not only to ourselves. It is interesting to observe that we may be unconsciously accentuating things we have observed in other people instead of inwardly asserting and affirming the truth about their being. We make a mistake if we stereotype people. If we engage in projecting their material side back to them, it will tend to grow in them. This kind of projection embraces the limiting idea that we are all separate individuals, instead of the more comprehensive truth that, as Baba says, at the soul level, we are one. So if we would look for the soul, the ideal self in others, that would become accentuated in them. Emphasizing the soul quality of others can become a part of our inner work. On the practical level, we take into account that the illusory sanskaric aspect of people. We take into account the illusory sanskaric aspect of people, but at the same time regard them in the light of their true ideal self, emphasizing that rather than any other side of them. By doing this, we are helping them to remove veils. This means looking upon other people as, in the last analysis, spiritual beings really seeking God. To get this perception, affirm, Baba is doing everything. Baba is the doer. I know that for most of us, it takes an effort to project the basic truth about people. But if one can develop this more flexible attitude, this benefits not only their consciousness, but our own. Because what we visualize affects our own being. If we visualize weakness in others, that reflects on our own consciousness. If we visualize the ideal self of others, we are calling forth the same in ourselves, the truth in our own being. It is not always easy to see the higher side of people, but it is worth trying to do. Around Baba, we would experience this kind of projection from him in a very powerful way. The radiation of Baba's presence had the effect of completely enveloping one's lower nature and calling forth one's higher self. It is not as though he is in a closed box and you are in a closed box and you do not really affect each other. He is truth and reality, and he is radiating truth and reality and light and divine love. And you are radiating falsehoods and illusion. Something has to give. So when the illusions begin to give way, light begins to dawn, and one begins to experience a deep inner integration and spiritual upliftment.
Beautiful.
So to me, that's a hard one. It's really a hard one. You know, I can do it sometimes in my office, sometimes when I work with people. I can be working with them and think, this is Baba doing this. You know, and I can feel that. And then at other times, like yesterday, I went to an old neighbor's, the little girl who grew up next to me. It was her son's second birthday. And I saw her mom, who I hadn't seen for a while. And she had caused a lot of trouble in their family and, you know, left them, cheated on her husband, moved to another state. I mean, all kinds of stuff. But her daughter has kind of accepted her back in, and they were, and she was there. And I was struggling. I don't know, in that moment, I was not able to see her as Baba. I could be with her. I wasn't judgmental in like approaching her, but it was like I had to keep my heart a little closed, like we've talked about. It would have been great if I could have remembered that she is Baba, and she is, and project in her kind of what I would see as the soul, you know, moving through life just like we all are. So there's times I think when it's easy or easier, and boy, there are times when it's really challenging. So
Yeah, beautifully expressed. Yeah, I mean, Darwin used to say he would view people as potential spiritual aspirants. That's how he worded it, potential spiritual aspirants. You know, I mean, like, yeah, we project limitations on others, and it backfires on us, and we become limited. It's, you know, but it's hard to get out of that when it's hard to I mean, react at the lower level and maintain the higher level, a frequency of love and the emotional negativity at the lower level. To be able to do those simultaneously, that's the great challenge. Usually people can do just one or the other. They can't
it's
do.
hard to break the loop in the moment too.
Yeah.
If you're in that, like I was able to think of her today and sit and take some time and think of her as someone on the path, someone, you know, just like me. But boy, I sure couldn't do it in the moment. All I could do was just kind of be friendly, hold my tongue, and you know, just not make her uncomfortable. But that was a challenge. But I could not have done the other in the moment. Not yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the monolith talked about feeling negative towards somebody and loving them at the same time. It can be done. It's a lot of it's takes a little bit of gymnastics to do that. Okay, yeah.
But Paula?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I have done terrible in this life with this particular dilemma of you know, mostly in my most, you know, intimate relationships. I just feel like I've had a really hard time. I mean, a lot of it is that I had a very critical parent, you know, and that critical voice lives very, very strong in me. And I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but I don't know if it has to do with that, but it's really hard. And like, this is like so powerful here. And I mean, I love this one line that it says, so if we would look for the soul, the ideal self in others, that would become accentuated in them. Emphasizing the soul quality of others can be part of our inner work. I mean, that is so powerful to me, And anyway, I just feel like I've had a very difficult time with that in this life, in general.
Baba people, that's been one of the hardest, I would
Yeah.
say. Being critical of others is the hardest thing because you know how love could be, and then you go out in the world and people are many people are going against that. So it's very hard to overcome that criticalness with projecting a more favorable view of them.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment just
Yeah.
on that, very brief?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is that I think it was Monty that would say that one of the things that Baba wanted us to do is be his bees. He wanted us to be bees for Baba. And that would mean we would go from flower to flower, extracting the nectar of all the people that we meet, as opposed to the opposite. In other words, look for the nectar and take that with you.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich?
I came in late on this, so I apologize. And I'm not sure what I'm going to say fits exactly with Darwin's this section of Darwin's book. But one of the things I've experienced, and this is really difficult for me, and I'm like an infant at this in a way. It's silly to say it, but there's a certain point with your individuality. Like I was thinking of Ron. So Ron's got to be Ron. So I go over to Ron's house and we're having a meal and and he's going to sing a song for me and all that's cool. Pretty soon, this is me. I'm not talking about people in general, just me. But pretty soon I'm thinking, man, boy, I'm a lot like Ron. But I don't know that I'm thinking that because I'm imbibing everything Ron has to give me that's Ron, right? I'm feeling his Chaitanya, Who are you, Ron, in this creation? And Ron's giving me that. And then I find it hard later when I go back home. I'm thinking, geez, I wonder if I could sing like Ron. I wonder if I can think a little more like Ron. And maybe I am a little like Ron. But the truth is that I have to maintain my own sense of center and individuality. And if I don't, then I don't have the capability of really being responsible for my own self. I'm thinking maybe Ron should take care of me a little bit. After all, I got a lot of Ron's qualities. I don't know if that makes sense, but the point I'm trying to make is that I have a very, what is that? A very nebulous sort of boundary sometimes. I meet people and I'm feeling who they are. I mean, I'm really like maybe it's the astral world and we're all doing this astral thing, And instead of Rich going, I have a sense of, I've got sand in my balloon. Remember, Baba talked about the balloon? You can knock it so far, but you don't want it to. So I'm like in the wind, I'm just blowing all over the place. So I've had to, I hope this makes sense in terms of what Darwin was talking about here, but I've had to try to focus on, well, who am I as an individual, even though I enjoy knowing Ron or my neighbor or, does that click at all, Jeff?
Yeah. I mean, but like I say, it's possible to appreciate all the different personalities without it affecting the integrity of your own personality.
Right.
But if you envy what they have, or I'm not like that, then it kind of muddies that up. But if you can appreciate, the qualities of others, because actually we are all each other, and in the end, it's like we spend so much time getting to know ourselves when we could go out in the neighborhood and get to know some other parts of ourselves, you know, but I think empathy is great. I mean, even if it is difficulty to hold your own integrity, empathy is, I think, one of the greatest things down here at this level. Yeah.
Now, Jim, is your hand up again? Yes, Jim?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thought that occurred to me around this discussion about being, experiencing other people around us and feeling ourselves caught up in it, judging the situation and all that, which is natural. But a metaphor that comes to my mind is that if you plant your feet in the illusion and you look out into the illusion and you see all this, yeah, it appears to be absolutely what you know, and you're experiencing that. But you react to it naturally. But if you try to put at least one leg, into the reality that is Baba's love, that is infinite compassion, that we all are underneath all these sanskaras that we're spewing day by day by day. If you try to put at least one foot in that reality, and then you try to look at the world, and you can say, yes, they are suffering just as I'm suffering. They're struggling just as I'm struggling. But underneath that, we all have this. We're all Babas. This is just an illusion. What's coming out is just an illusion. Plant your feet in the reality and try to respond to life in that way. That's my
Yeah.
thought.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here I've quoted this before, but it had immense help in my interpersonal relations. Back in the 70s, I was looking for a quote of Baba's that would embody a particular truth I felt. And this is the quote where Baba says, all differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down. Now, that was immensely helpful, so that I always feel like if that person doesn't like me, we actually, in the present, we love each other. And it's just a different way of, rather than thinking, oh, well, I'll never, we'll never really enjoy love with this person. I can tell their attitude toward me, we'll never have love. That is unacceptable to the soul. But the fact that we love each other all along and we just don't think we love each other, that we're 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 kind of, the love doesn't grow. It's the stuff that makes it seem like that we don't love each other has to be removed. But we love each other all along. That has helped me immensely in this life. Yeah. But then there was Tony.
Tony, yeah.
Perfect joke.
And then it's Tony. Hi, Jay Baba. So I don't experience any of this in terms of seeing Baba in someone or saying, oh, well, it's Baba who's doing this to me. I try, but it doesn't. But what I am conscious of is that sometimes there is real karma between people, and there's a way of relating that may go back thousands of years, and a problem that will pop up from time to time now, but clearly has very deep and unpleasant roots, maybe of having horrible attitudes to one another or whatever. And so what happens is, when that happens, it's one's buttons, to use a pseudo-psychological term, one's buttons get pushed, or the other buttons get, and once the button gets pushed, forget about it. You're not seeing Baba. You're reacting to the thing like you have been intimately for the last 5,000 effing years, and it has effects. I mean, I think I had something like this going on, and I wound up having physical effects. I lost my left leg, stopped working. It's pretty bad. I'm kind of recovering it now, but in going to my acupuncturist, and Zeke had to drive me because I couldn't drive, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. He's an NAET acupuncturist. I had shared with him something that a Baba lover had shared with me at the previous mini Northeast gathering. I forget his name. I forget everybody's name. Hugh, I think. He's an acupuncturist also. He works out on Long Island. And he had been by Baba's Samadhi. And he felt Baba saying to him, he was grappling with a certain problem with someone, I think. And he inwardly heard Baba say, ask me to remove that sanskara from your mind and to replace it with my love. And he did. And it resolved the problem. And he apparently shared this at the previous Northeast gathering, mini gathering, that I was not at. But the host of it was. And she said when she heard it last time, she had used it in a situation that was troubling her, and the other person changed. And so at the time, it was timely for me because something had just gotten triggered between my wife and I. And we're sitting there in this wonderful Baba sharing circle and kind of inwardly fuming while looking very loving, I'm sure. And so Baba responded with this advice, and it really helped. I mean, we didn't talk for half the ride home, but eventually it connected, and I carried it a step further to also remove the sanskaras from her mind and replace them with your infinite love. And I'm fine. Anyway, my acupuncture NAET guy on Wednesday remembered me telling him that. And his intuition was very clear that this thing with your leg has nothing to do with any other physical cause, and you should apply that thing you told me about. And I have been, and it's helping, but not as fast as I would like it to.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, but it's not. I want, like a lot of people, I guess, certainly me. When I was a kid, they would quote me as saying, you can have it after, and I'd say right now, not after. Well, that's how I feel with Baba with these things. Yeah, remove the sanskaras now, not after. Replace it with love. If I'm not asking well enough, well, help me ask well enough. But that's it. Yeah, well, that's
Eric used to say, spiritual progress is very, 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 very gradual, or very unacceptable to our American time schedule. Okay.
Virginia?
Sorry, took a second to unmute. Yeah, I've been thinking this last week about just what you all were talking about, the frustration of knowing what that reality is and yet being stuck in this body and this ego and this mind and these samskaras. And Baba has thrown a lot of things at me and my life and my family's life this last year that have felt huge and big and emotional, and kind of holding hands with him through all that has been gradually allowing me to kind of have more chinks and more light. Oh, sorry, my dogs are barking. The dogs are loving too and lighting too right now. But kind of more light come in and more space and more peace. And I don't know where I'm going with that. Except that I had a poem that came up kind of in that theme today, if it would be all right if I read it.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, let me pull it up real quick. Okay, it's called The Paradox. You have placed me in an exquisite prison, which is of my own making, bars intricately forged by my struggle to exist separately from you. And although sometimes I believe so thoroughly in their existence that I can't perceive anything but the drudgery and despair of this inexhaustible wheel of action and reaction, you have shown your light through. I have allowed your love in, often and convincingly enough that I know without any doubts this cage really is an illusion, but I can't seem to break it. Not with reason or force of will, not with discipline, not with shouts or railing or gnashing of teeth, not with good acts or attempts at selfless love, not even with giving it all up and surrendering to what is. I know you are the key. but in my fumblings, can't seem to get out of my own way enough to use you. Knowing that all I need to do is remember who I am, and not being able to do it fully is equal parts ridiculous and enraging. But when I finally worn myself down fighting against myself, I remember to invite you in with me, instead of trying to break out of here to you. And then I can accept that you and I will open the shell of this drop soul existence when the time is right, when I have unwound fully and I'm ready to dissolve. And until then, there's nothing to worry about. All the situations you have led me to are intended for my benefit and release. All the joy and the pain are just a balancing out that I can give to you. And I can sing the song of you until you are the only actor in my play. Then the walls will come down, the bars will break, and I will be joyously gone forever and always everywhere with you.
Beautiful. Wow, Virginia. You know, it reminds me of a poem, or I don't know if it's a poem, but it's a couple of lines from Rumi where he says, "This world is a prison exercise yard. While going through the motions, plot your escape beyond its walls into open country. The very thought that the walls are impenetrable keeps you from the vastness outside."
Wow.
I'm reminded of that.
Did you just say that by heart?
I kind of pretty much know it,
Wow.
but don't ask me to say it again.
Beautiful.
Ron?
But that's Virginia. Maybe we ought to have you read that at the very end too. That's these are beautiful what you're writing, and these are the very things we're having to deal with, the challenges.
I've been asking Baba each week if there's a poem that wants to be read in the next week's talk. And
Oh, good. Well, we're all ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron?
Yeah, I have a few tiny little quotes that apply to what we've been talking about. One of them is a line that Baba gave to Bao. There was a time when Baba was giving lines for Bao to use in ghazals that he would write. And this is one where he was writing, he gave him the ghazal so it would fit that it was from Bao's point of view. And what it said was, "You are the one who knows everything of the past, present, and the future. And I am the one who knows, who does not know what will happen in the very next moment." So I bring that up because I think to know yourself, you're going to have to admit that very little of what we know is that we don't know. The more we know what we don't know, it starts us toward truth. I think it all begins with that. I think the wise men have said that knowing what you don't know is a type of truth. And so I think that starts it off. And then let's see here. So one of the things Mark Twain said, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so."
Yeah.
There's something to guide you along through this world that we're living in. And then this is something I just found when I was cleaning this shelf on this little file that I have here, and I came across this. I believe I heard this from Wendy Connor. I'm not positive about it, but she heard it maybe from Kitty or Elizabeth or possibly Baba, but I think this originates with Baba. It says, "Be mindful of the goodness in all. I'll take care of the crap.
Oh, yeah.
To love all is not to love me. To love me in all is to love me."
And there's a couple more lines. To love me and others is to love me. Yeah, anyway. Good, excellent. So Shall we go? Let's go on to the next section. Unless there's anything more to say to that. Let's go on to the next. We haven't even
Okay.
gotten to dissolving the veils yet. Yeah.
Hardik, do you want to read? Hardik,
Yes.
thank you. Coloring of our thoughts.
I have gathered from Meher Baba that we have to deal with our sanskaras at all levels. We are more conscious of sanskaras at our surface consciousness, whereas in the subconscious, we may be aware of them only as a feeling or impelling forces. The relationship between conscious and subconscious sanskaras is that there is some coloring of our conscious thought because of our subconscious sanskaras. In other words, when we allow sanskaras at the subconscious level to impel us into actions or cause us to draw conclusion about things, the effect we experience by doing so tend to confirm and solidify our misconception in subconscious mind. For example, sanskaras came out into conscious mind in the form of certain desires, which have already been formed by certain misconception in our subconscious. When we put those desires into action, we experience certain effects that are of the same nature and that concord with the original misconception, thus confirming that misconception. We not be able to understand where all these impelling forces and feelings come from and what they involve. But as the time goes on, we can become more aware of the mechanics of them as a feelings or impelling forces. Then we can have some intelligent control over them and not respond to them, rather than be impelled to put them into action. It is like diffusing a bomb by understanding and intelligently regulating its mechanism. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone have something to say to that? I think it looks like Tony's got his hand up. Yeah.
Yes, Tony.
Okay. Yeah, just, where Baba says, talking about lower self, and it's okay to have the thoughts, but don't put them into action. And especially coming to Baba as a young man, I always think of that in sexual terms, But it seemed to me, in hearing this just now, it's exactly that. It's those sanskaras that we are aware of at the conscious level, that we sense in unpleasant feelings at the subconscious level. And if you put them into if you don't put them into action, they pass. They eventually do pass because they're nothing. The instant, that's what it's saying here in different words. The instant that you put them into action, the criticism, the blame, the anger, whatever it is, you make them true. In your own mind, in your own experience, you make the things that you're pissed off about or hurt about or angry about, you make them true by giving voice to them and responding to them with anger or well, I'm not going to look for the way he said it, but at the end of that paragraph, it's exactly that. Don't put it into action. It's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to think crazy thoughts. Just don't put them into action, or you will make them seem real to you, the situations they portray.
Yeah, very clearly expressed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Ellen.
There's something I can hear some.
It's Tony's fan when he comes on, but then he goes off, it goes away, I think.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I meant to close it. Forgot.
That's okay.
I thought he's got a factory going on there or something. Okay.
Okay, Miss Ellen.
So Baba speaks, I think he's referring to anger, but it would reply to any thought that you didn't want to put into action. He speaks of holding it in the fire of consciousness and not putting it into action and having it be burned away. And I have a particular memory of doing that with anger one time in a long-term relationship, which I know had lots of very old sanskaras. And the reason I remember it is because that time it was very, very strong and very, very present, and I had to hold on to Baba's name with all of my might, and it really seemed to just actually resolve it for a huge part of that in my life from that time on. So I have a very clear memory of the effectiveness of Baba's direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even saying Baba's name, I think, is a little bit like that Pac-Man thing. It just goes around and eats up, you know, just eating up impressions so it doesn't have so much power.
Yeah, I think the fire of consciousness was very apt because I held, I was completely aware of it as I said Baba's name, and it was the not putting it into action while being wholly, every iota of my being aware of it seemed to make a change.
So you're saying that
Yeah.
being conscious of something is the fire?
Yes, I
Oh.
think so, yes. The
Yeah.
complete awareness of it, not just sort of part of your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Darwin used to talk about when you find yourself in an expansive, and I mean, this is slightly connected with what you're saying. When you find yourself in an expansive, loving state, rather than just enjoying that, you can take some of your weaknesses and hangups and everything and throw into this bonfire and burn some of them up, when you're in that state. Instead of just like indulging in the state, but make real use of it. Yeah. And which sounds like what you did when you were in the fire of that consciousness. Things will burn up in that. Yeah.
Yes, Rich.
This kind of relates to what everyone is talking about. Well, I know it does, but for me, there seems like there's different levels of these things in the subconscious. By that I mean I've called these, what I'm talking about right now, I've always labeled them as sanskaric knots. It's not just like I like ice cream, so I'm gonna go eat a quart of it. That's a very shallow sort of, gross world, okay. But it's more like I always wanted to be a success. And everything I tried, I seemed to fail at it. Or for some reason, I never had the real attitude about being successful. But then again, another level, well, what is this success I'm looking for? My ego just wants to be important. That's success. Or maybe I have an actual plan and I work it out and it manifests. But in the long run, that's a much deeper sort of karmic path, part of my karmic personality. So let's say my last life, I tried and tried to do something and I just couldn't get it done. This life, I've tried, I'm a little more intelligent about it, but the real goal is still something to do with my ego and why I want to be. So Baba calls this ongoing consciousness in mixed with creation, Chaitanya, right? Or the thinking consciousness of the Jivatma. But so in my case, I'll be very honest here. I'll give you an example of this. I always wanted to have a relationship with a very pretty woman, right? An image. It was more of an image, right? And I could support it with this is right and that's right. And then I would see someone and think, well, that looks good. But recently, this is really a kind of a big deal for me, I think. But recently, I encountered a woman who I just saw her just as her, as a person, as a conscious human being. No lust is in there, and yet she's really someone I really like, and and I feel absolutely confident and comfortable around her because she is someone who is confident as herself, just being herself. Yeah. And it's been really different for me, but I have begun to see that. So part of that inner longing, that deep longing within me is I want to be taken care of too. So I would love to have someone I like this much to take some of the responsibility of my life by caring about me, right? Well, that's just another part of this sanskaric knot. And I'm sure it's always there every time I approach this whole thing. How do I get out of it? Thanks. That's enough of that.
That's good. I like the examples because I mean it brings the whole this challenge and effort down here on the street level.
So I kind of have a question. So I had this happen the other day, and I'm not really sure exactly what it was, but I think it sort of fits into this framework of what we're talking about. I had said something a couple of weeks ago to someone. I actually asked a question, and the person answered me, but I had this inner feeling that they had taken offense at what I had asked. And I'm not the kind of person who tries to hurt people. So it kind of passed, but it just stuck with me for a couple of weeks. And it just went over and over and over in my mind, and replaying it, reviewing it. How was I hurtful? And I talked to Bob about it. And then finally, I got this feeling a couple of days ago that I have to call and make an apology, whether it really did bother them like I thought or not, because I just wasn't certain. And so it just was like burning inside of me. So I asked Baba for help, and I had to even ask another person for this person's phone number so I could call them. So it was like a double level step. So each time it was like, oh, I have to do this. But I kept getting that push. And so I got the phone number, and then I made the call, and the person actually wasn't there. But I asked Baba, what do I do? And he's like, just say it. So I left a message on the answering machine, or I guess there's no answering machines anymore, voicemail, and, said, I'd like to talk about it. If you'd like to call me back, and, or if you have any comments, but I just wanted to clear this up. And, there was no justifying, or I did this because. It was just a heartfelt apology. And afterwards, I never thought about it again. It was like it had poof, gone away. And in truth, I don't know if I actually did hurt this person, but that push was so strong. So my question kind of is, what was that? Was that some old sanskaric patterning from a long ago that hadn't been resolved? I just don't know. So I'm kind of just asking the question. But it was really amazing. When you get that push, not a push of the in the moment responding, kind of protective or reacting, but just over time that something needs to be said or done or resolved. And it's coming from the heart and not from the head. So I'm just curious what the thought might be.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I won't answer that, but just the fact that you made that effort to try to resolve that situation, whether it was based on truth or something you imagined, but that love that you expressed there love dissolves everything, and so a beautiful thing that takes a lot of courage. You dissolve that, but that I'm just speaking from that standpoint. But people may want to respond.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it felt like. And I'm not somebody who would ever purposefully try to harm somebody. So as I said from the first instance I talked about earlier, I'll step back rather than confront. And this wasn't a huge thing, and that was the interesting thing about it, was it just ate at me so much.
Yeah.
So, it was just really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you find that you kind of did you feel like you hit a wrong note, or you didn't even notice that? Sometimes we can say something, we know, boy, that wasn't quite the right note. But you didn't have a
Yeah,
feel-
no, I did. When I asked the question of this person, the thing I thought of, this was, a person of color. And I asked him a question and he sort of looked at me and said, "Why would you ask me that?" And, I explained, "Oh, it's because of this, this, and this. I was thinking about this." And then, but later on, I went, "Oh, I think that if I had, would I have said that to someone else or someone who was not of color, or would they have taken it differently?" And I realized that it was like an unconscious bias, or not really thinking about how what I asked could potentially hurt somebody. It
Yeah.
was, it was just an unconscious question, not thinking about it from their perspective of how they might feel in being asked that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
Beautiful.
again, it wasn't trying to be harmful at all, but it's,
Yeah.
we do have these unconscious sort of biases that are within us. And I've been working on it really hard to see those when they come up and think about them and work with them and talk to Baba about them. But I'd never had something like that happen, like in real time with a person. It's more just noticing thinking, or, things that come up in your mind. This was the first instance where I actually said something that in a question that I just thought was a question. And it turned out it was uncomfortable. I do think I made this person uncomfortable. So I wanted to address it. So,
Yeah.
and not to explain why, just to talk about what I think I did, not asking for somebody, I didn't want them to say, "Oh, that's okay," because it wasn't okay. It wasn't thinking. And so I just, if they wanted to comment or give me some feedback, that would be great. But, I wasn't expecting anything in return. I just wanted to give a heartfelt apology.
Yeah. Beautiful. Martha had something to say up there.
Yeah, Jennifer, I just want to stand right beside you with the same kind of thing, except now sometimes I'm quick to say something with an edge and I don't catch it, I don't hear it till after, but I always call that person and say, I said this and I want to apologize if I hurt your heart. And many times the other person didn't even pick it up, but it doesn't matter because something in me is aware of my tone or that I might hurt someone. And now I'm very quick to just apologize because it just cleans it up fast. I don't have to be thinking about it. So I want to support you in just the whole process you went through. I know it's long and painful, but that you called, and I think that's great. And I feel really like when I say things that are too quick or too edgy, have an edge. And I just try to soften myself. And sometimes my mouth just says something too fast. But I call and apologize. And I kind of enjoyed it in a weird way, just saying, "I'm sorry, I just really was unconscious." Period.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that maybe these are some of these sanskaric threads that are still within us, and we're just like spewing them out one at a time in a way, and I do agree with you, Marta, that the keeping your side of the street clean all the time is, is a really great exercise, because boy, I feel like the more and more I've been with Baba, when I do kind of trip up a little bit, I can't get it out of my head. I have to do something. I have to resolve it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Paula.
Okay. Now keep in mind that we're gone over the
Oh yeah, we've gone
time,
way
but
over.
but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just I also I've been trying to, for the last few years, be very mindful of when something is not, if I have said something or it rises in me as a discomfort, that I try to take care of it pretty quickly by I have some friends, and it's almost like we have a contract with each other that we will address an issue if it is in any way a possibility of being hurtful or it's not sitting right. And I'm so very grateful for that. And not the avoiding of it, but just really not confronting, not being confrontive, but just checking it out. I think
Yeah.
that's really, really important, and yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
and then Ronnie Greenstein, what you at the end of, I want to tell you something that happened yesterday at the end of this, at our time together here. If you could just stay on for a moment so I could tell you something about an event that happened here yesterday that I thought you might be interested in, because it has to do with your beginnings in our Miami time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Robert?
That's,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, Jeff. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Robert?
Yeah, I just appreciate the conversation. I'm reminded, and I just had an experience tonight. I just got an email from somebody that just felt like a lot of negativity, and I've been distracted by it. But I'm glad I'm here to hear all this, or some of it anyway, because I've been distracted. But when someone comes at me with negativity, it's just to like take a pause and don't react. Don't I'm learning not to add more sanskaras to the situation by, by reacting. Just take it, maybe just say thank you for what you had to share. Have a, essentially thank you, and nice way to say, okay, have a good day, have a good life, or whatever, but not take it too hard. I was kind of taking it too hard a little bit. Some message I just gotten a few moments ago, but yeah. And I've learned that in my past also is I've had situations where people have come at me in a negative way, and I've wanted to react quickly. And if I sit back, I just appreciate some aspect of the relationship, and I express that, and then quietly express what I felt without judgment, without hostility or anger, it definitely transforms the energy and the relationship. Anyway, I'll just leave that
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. You kind of want to do what creates the least residue, you know?
Right. Well, at least some, don't add more sexcaric impressions that you don't want.
Exactly. Yeah. You stated it exactly. Okay. Well, let's,
Wrap
hey,
it
let's
up.
have,
Wrap it up.
Yeah, let's have Virginia, if you would
Yeah.
read your poem, and then we'll have a few moments of silence. If you'd read your poem again.
Okay. Hang on just a second. The paradox. You have placed me in an exquisite prison, which is of my own making. Bars intricately forged by my struggle to exist separately from you. And although sometimes I believe so thoroughly in their existence that I can't perceive anything but the drudgery and despair of this inexhaustible wheel of action and reaction, you have shown your light through. I have allowed your love in, often and convincingly enough, that I know without any doubts this cage really is an illusion. But I can't seem to break it. Not with reason or force of will, not with discipline, not with shouts or railing or gnashing of teeth, not with good acts or attempts at selfless love, not even with giving it all up and surrendering to what is. I know you are the key, But in my fumblings, I can't seem to get out of my own way enough to use you. Knowing that all I need to do is remember who I am, and not being able to do it fully is equal parts ridiculous and enraging. But when I've finally worn myself down fighting against myself, I remember to invite you in with me instead of trying to break out of here to you. And then I can accept that you and I will open the shell of this drop soul existence when the time is right, when I have unwound fully and I'm ready to dissolve. And until then, there's nothing to worry about. All the situations you have led me to are intended for my benefit and release. All the joy and the pain are just a balancing out that I can give to you. And I can sing the song of you until you are the only actor in my play. Then the walls will come down, the bars will break, and I will be joyously gone forever and always everywhere with you.
Beautiful.
Jai
Let's
Baba.
have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you all for chiming in and kind of helping to clarify what Darwin says so beautifully. And Goer, do you have a quote there at the very end?
Sure. Baba says, I want you to make me yours as you are eternally already mine.
Yep. Read that again. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I know, it's one of my favorites. I want you to make me yours as you are eternally already mine.
Yeah. So we didn't even get into the dissolving of the veils. We can indulge ourselves for the next week in creating veils, and then, but the following week we're gonna have to work.
I have a question, Goher.
Yeah.
Goher, how's your husband doing since he didn't get his contract back? Is he gardening? What's he doing?
He's snoring right beside me right now.
That's an action.
Thank you. He's doing well, Rich. Thanks for thinking of him. He's coping, as I will say. He even kept silence for the first time in 51 years this year.
Oh.
Oh. He used to fast always, but
Yeah.
because of his work. But this year he did, and he did wonderfully well, I have to say. I was most impressed.
Wow.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was his snoring. It wasn't my air conditioner.
Yeah.
He just came to me. I was just joking.
Me too.
Yeah. So any last moment comments before we disappear?
I'm going to say one quick thing. I've talked way too much tonight, but that
No,
was
no.
that on my silence, and I did pretty well. But one of the things that I enjoyed the most was, Goher, I listened to you on YouTube, and I listened to your story.
Oh.
And it was so beautiful and so touching to listen to that. And I guess it's been up there, I guess, for a little bit of a while, but it was like, I felt like I got to know you more. So it was powerful, your story. So thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Mostly my dad's story, but yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
But yours as a small child, it was just really fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, I just wanted to say also, I listened to so many like concerts and silence and Charles Haynes gave a talk on the 9th, and it was just so amazing. And this beautiful concert from an Australian Baba lover.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? That beautiful woman, young woman. I
Yeah.
mean,
Hey.
Andres or something. Her name, I don't know, but it was so
Hey.
beautiful, so rich, and God, it was just incredible. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Any-
would love to hear your story, Go Hair.
Oh, I've told it many times. You can go on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Okay, I will.
Talk at Mehermount is one of them. I don't know if she told it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last year I was at Mehermount.
That was a beautiful presentation.
Thank
Oh,
you.
how
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Ronnie, I want to talk to you before you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anything else? Anything
Oh.
to bring up? Yeah. But you know, the one thing that I'm just reiterate, but one thing that's helped in interpersonal relationships, because you can feel bad that you feel negative towards somebody or, you know, you're in conflict with them, but it's possible to be in conflict with somebody and love them at the same time. You know, the conflict is at the sanskaric level and the love is beyond the sanskar. I mean, it's on a different frequency. To be able to have both of those operating simultaneously. But what happens is, you know, most people, they react negatively, so their consciousness just drops down just to one thing. But it is really possible to love and be recoil from somebody and love them at the same time. You know, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. It doesn't seem possible, but Erich and all of them, they affirm that. We've got it in us to be able to do that. Otherwise, you feel bad that you're reacting to this one or that one and fault finding and judgmental and everything. If that's not balanced by the loving aspect of it, you can feel very disturbed with yourself.
I have a short quote by Baba that speaks to this exactly.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Start loving to love God by loving those whom you cannot love.
Mm.
The more you remember others with kindness and generosity, the more you forget yourself. And when you completely forget yourself, you find God.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I'm going to let the people on the East Coast go to bed.
Is you.
That includes you.
Yeah, me. Jai Baba.
Good night.
Much love.
Hey, Baba. Thank you.
Hey,
Bye.
Baba.
Hey, Bob.
So Ronnie,
Hey, Baba,